Are your people working hard but not reaching their full potential? The problem is not effort, it is development. At the Modern Observer Group, we transform workforce development into real performance. Our human-centered achievement programs help your team think better, communicate stronger, and execute at a higher level. That means higher employee engagement, stronger leadership, and measurable results across your organization. If you want a workforce that performs, leads, and delivers, it is time to invest in your people. Visit modernobserver.com and discover how the Modern Observer Group helps you build a workforce that wins.
Iran threatens to expand the war. Canadian antisemitism on the rise. A massive loss for a live nation, and more. Welcome to the Raw Naked Truth. I'm your host, Eric Lopkin, and here's the news you need to know. An Iranian general warned Wednesday that Tehran could shut down traffic in the Red Sea and other regional shipping lanes if the U.S. military's blockade of Iranian ports continues. The remarks from Major General Ali Abadi of Iran's top military command were aired by Iranian state television, according to the Middle East Eye. Ali Abadi said if the U.S. blockade continues, it creates insecurity for Iran's commercial vessels and oil tankers and constitutes a prelude to violating the ongoing U.S.-Iran ceasefire, the news outlet reported. The powerful armed forces of the Islamic Republic will not allow any exports or imports to continue in the Persian Gulf, the Sea of Oman, and the Red Sea, Ali Abadi reportedly added. Russia's foreign minister, Sergei Lavrov, said that Iran has an inalienable right to enrich uranium for civilian purposes during a state visit to China on Wednesday, according to the Times of Israel. The right to enrich uranium for civilian purposes is an inalienable right of the Islamic Republic of Iran, Lavrov said during a Tuesday press conference following a bilateral meeting with Chinese President Xi Jinping. Access to said uranium has been a hard line for U.S. President Donald Trump in ongoing peace negotiations with Iran. There will be no enrichment of uranium, Trump wrote in an April 8th post on Truth Social, adding that the U.S. would be working with Iran to dig up all remaining nuclear materials in the country to ensure the Islamic Republic would not have access to any uranium. A majority of the U.S. Senate backed President Donald Trump's military campaign against Iran on Wednesday, voting to block a Democratic-led resolution aiming to stop the war until hostilities are authorized by Congress. The Senate voted 52 to 47 not to advance the War Powers Resolution, underscoring his party's continuing support for the Republican president's war policy, more than 6 weeks after the U.S. and Israel launched airstrikes on Iran. The Senate also blocked 2 resolutions that would have stopped about $450 million in planned U.S. bomb and bulldozer sales to Israel. The votes came Wednesday as most Senate Republicans backed the administration's policy, but more than 36 Democrats supported the effort. A Holocaust survivor from Canada has warned about growing antisemitism in his country, calling on the nation's leaders to take action against perpetrators. Nate Leipziger spoke at the annual March of the Living at Auschwitz in Poland on Tuesday as thousands gathered to commemorate those killed in the Holocaust against a backdrop of growing antisemitism in the world. The 98-year-old said he was recently targeted in Toronto when mezuzahs, sacred parchment scrolls, were forcibly removed from apartment doors in his building. The violence increased in March when his synagogue was also targeted in a drive-by shooting. Turning Point USA CEO Erica Kirk pulled out of a highly anticipated Tuesday event with Vice President J.D. Vance after receiving very serious threats, part of a relentless harassment campaign targeting Charlie Kirk's widow since his assassination last September. A federal jury in New York delivered a major blow to Live Nation Entertainment on Wednesday, finding the concert giant and its Ticketmaster subsidiary liable for monopolistic practices in the ticketing industry. The verdict stems from a sweeping multi-state lawsuit that accused the company of using its dominance in concert promotion and ticketing to stifle competition, inflate prices, and limit consumer choice, according to the complaint. Live Nation shares dropped about 6% in afternoon trading after the verdict, while competitors surged. Vivid Seats jumped more than 9%, and StubHub climbed roughly 3.5%. Walmart is giving one of its most recognizable brands a fresh look for the first time in more than a decade. The retail giant announced Wednesday that it is rolling out a sweeping redesign of its flagship Great Value label, spanning nearly 10,000 food and household products. The effort marks the brand's first full refresh in over 10 years and the largest private label update in Walmart's history. Great Value has earned customers' trust over decades, and while the brand is getting a fresh, modern look, what's inside isn't changing. Scott Morris, Senior Vice President of Private Brands at Walmart USA, said in a statement, "Customers will continue to find the same trusted products at the same everyday low prices they rely on." Wall Street indexes closed at record highs on Wednesday as investors returned to technology shares and responded to earnings and hopes for progress in Middle East diplomacy. Reuters reported the Nasdaq and S&P 500 both set closing highs, with the Nasdaq rising 1.6% and the S&P 500 up 0.8%. A separate Reuters report said global markets extended gains Thursday as truce hopes improved sentiment. That's the Raw Naked Truth for April 16th, 2026. You can catch every episode of the Raw Naked Truth Daily News Brief, as well as our sister podcast, Carnivore Radio, with news analysis and commentary, and the rest of the Xvadio Podcast Network at xvadio.com, the Apple Podcast app, YouTube, Rumble, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Audible, Amazon Music, and other platforms that respect freedom of speech. We'll see you next time.